Hey YouTube, Christian Santa here for another bass fishing video. Today the topic is going to be spring bass fishing. This is more bass spawning and late spring period, so not pre-spawn, but after they've started moving to their beds and starting to kind of put their foot on where they're going to be staying for the spring to have their babies. One of the things that I like to use is the Zoom Super Fluke. This is in a shad with a rainbow flake in it. What I like to do with this is I have just a drop shot ball weight, but there's a special weight that has like a little stick out almost like this, but it has barbs in it to not allow it to slip out. What I like to do is I take it, put it in the nose so that it's sitting in there, and you'd have that weight. I just ran out of them. And then you take just any type of hook, and you're going to hook it towards the back of the bait. So it's just like that. And as you can see, the bait sits face down, so that would almost be, say this were the bed and you had your bait come swimming across, it would almost look as if the Super Fluke is eating the bass's eggs, and they're very territorial, and they will come and try and eat it. But if they don't eat it, the good thing about this is if they're just trying to slurp and pull it away, and they short strike it just on the tail, your hook is up here in the back, so if they come and they do this, you can get that hook set because your hook is in the back. Another way that I like to rig this would be just a normal drop shot where you have your hook in the front and your drop shot down here, and then just kind of wiggle it around in their nest. I've caught a lot of fish that way. And then also just the Texas rig. I'm sure most of you know the Texas rig. I like to just use a 1/4 ounce weight on it. Just your usual, stick it in the top, stick it in the little open flap that comes in the Zoom Super Fluke, and just have it like that, and that would be a great bait for spring. That's more of a later late spring, after they're not really just sitting in their beds. I mean, you could use it for when they're sitting in their beds, but I feel the drop shot's more effective because you can just let it sit on their bed, and you don't have to let it sit on their bed for like 2 seconds, but as soon as you pull it across, you have to recast it with the drop shot. You can let the weight sit at one spot, and then the bait just keep dancing around in another. Okay, next bait I have would be a lizard. I pretty much do all the same rigging tips that I would with the Zoom Super Fluke. You could do that where you have the weight in the nose of it, but I wouldn't recommend that due to the fact that this has a tail, and it's great swimming action. I mean, you could probably just pop that little extra part of the tail off. I wouldn't recommend that, but you could if that floats your boat. I also do the Texas rig, just sticking it in the nose and dragging that across the bed, and you can also do the drop shot with that also. Next, moving on. Oh, and in the lizard color, I like to use blue with a green flake on it. I'm not sure if you can see the green flake, but it's blue with a green flake. Next, we're moving to the Zoom Centipede. This has produced my biggest personal best, and it was about a 4 or 5 pounder. It was last spring. Here I have it in green pumpkin. I also have it in a green pumpkin, but it's a light green pumpkin. So as you can see, this one has a much darker brown look to it than the light green pumpkin does. I think it's called pumpkin spice is the lighter one, and then the top one is called green pumpkin. And the pumpkin spice produced my biggest bass on a drop shot hookup, and I got that one last spring, and that was a really fun bass to catch. And then last but not least, I have the Molix Satyr Worm. I've talked about this before. I picked this up at a show this year, and it's a really new bait. Like just came out. They're a fairly new brand. I don't even know if you can find them in Bass Pro yet. I'm sure you can. I haven't seen them. I picked this up at a fishing show out here that came to the town, and it was a nice big old convention. And these are awesome looking baits. They have individual little grooves in them, allowing it to be very mobile, and great action to them. As you can see here, you move it a little bit and these things are bending all over the place. The cool part about this is if you do drop shot it, it sits in the water like this, and that has the tail up action, because in the tail here there's a little bubble of air, and that allows it to float tail up. And when the bass see that, they also think that that's something coming to overtake its nest, and they will strike that. And that is probably one of my favorite, just due to the action that this one has. I mean, it just has amazing action, and I can't wait to try this thing out in the spring. So yeah, so just to recap, got the Molix Satyr Worm. I'd definitely go try and check one of those out. The Zoom Centipede in green pumpkin and pumpkin spice. Any type of lizard, frog, crawdad imitator, just anything you can throw on their bed, they're going to attack it. The Zoom Super Fluke, and just pretty much any type of worm. These are just great baits, and thanks for tuning in. This is Spring Bass Fishing with Chris and Santa. Have a nice day, guys.